I will defend the situation. Before you call me a monster and an animal for defending the situation, I will say this. The cop was following a procedure.
Never said I oppose fracking. Show the tape. Put it on your website. Put it on the website.
Live from Clark Studios in Rochester, New York. Broadcasting around the world. You're listening to You Made It Political, where the voice of the keyboard warrior is finally heard and the arguments presented are put to the political test. And now, here's your host, Matt Clark.
Once upon a time in America, when we actually had morals, sexual harassment used to be a crime. In most other countries, it still is. But see, here in the United States, politicians, for some reason, don't have to answer to sexual harassment charges. Bill Clinton, as we all know, made it very clear that if you're a president, you're allowed to ask your intern to perform sexual acts. And now in New York State, Governor Cuomo, who now has 8 women filing sexual harassment charges against him, doesn't seem to think he needs to take these allegations seriously. The Me Too movement only seems to show up when the Democrats call upon them to help support their narrative. Hence the reason we haven't really heard a single peep out of them over the last few months. But what's worse than allowing these politicians to get away with sexual harassment is to then applaud them for it, which is exactly what Kamala Harris is doing right now with Bill Clinton. Kamala has actually decided to hold a girl power rally, and guess who she asked to be her co-host? That's right, Oval Office heavyweight champion Bill Clinton. Bill? I know the Democrats have completely lost their marbles, but holding a joint discussion with America's most disgusting and perverted president is taking things just a bit too far. Let's head over to Fox News and take a look at exactly what's going on here with the fact that Kamala Harris has asked Bill Clinton to joint co-host a girl power discussion. I know, it's absolutely insane. Let's take a look. So, as we can see, well, taking a look at the daily news, I couldn't freaking believe my eyes. I was like, are you effing kidding me? Vice President Kamala Harris will hold a joint discussion on empowering women, okay? Empowering women and girls with who? Former President Bill Clinton, who we all know has been accused of sexual misconduct by multiple women. Now, not just accused, okay? The guy was freaking impeached. Like, it's not, hey, well, we don't really know what happened. We're still trying to figure it out. Dude, it was like 15, I don't know, 20 years ago now. It was so long ago, I can't even remember. All I know, I was like in college or something. So we know what happened in the Oval Office. We know what went on between him and Monica Lewinsky. Like, the whole world knows, all right? He was then impeached, got away with it, because clearly, if you're a politician, you're allowed to sexually harass women. Me Too only comes out for people like Harvey Weinstein and a plethora of other celebrities. But when it comes to politicians, off limits. Bill Clinton was off limits. Cuomo was off limits. But what's more disgusting than the fact that they got away with it is that you now have Kamala Harris condoning and supporting it. Are we really surprised, though? I mean, Kamala Harris doesn't really have the best reputation. She's a little bit of a trickster herself. So Kamala Harris is now going to hold discussions with Bill Clinton on empowering women and girls. And obviously, it's getting a ton of criticism. So let's take a look further at the insanity of what's really going on here. So Kamala Harris, right, she decides to hold this discussion with Bill Clinton on empowering women and girls. I mean, listen, there are like a million people in the world that you might want to ask to have a sit down with to discuss lifting up women in today's era. Like, I could think of anybody except Bill Clinton. Like, what was the short list of this thing? Can you imagine what the short list looked like? That out of everybody in the world that you could hold a joint discussion with regarding empowering women and girls, that you actually picked Bill Clinton. I mean, how does that even happen? But she's done it. I'm not surprised, because the insanity with the Democrats is at an all-time high. So obviously people like Juanita Broderick, who was one of the accusers back in the day of Bill Clinton, along with a boatload of other women, can't believe this. I mean, her reaction is exactly what it should be. Is this a joke? So I had to look further. Wait a second. This has got to be a wind-up. This has to be a joke. This cannot be true. So I take a look at the article. Lo and behold, Vice President Kamala Harris will hold a joint discussion on empowering women and girls with former President Bill Clinton. And I'm like, why? Why on earth would you pick Bill Clinton? There's got to be something going on here. Bill Clinton's been accused of sexual misconduct by multiple women, not just one, multiple women. So here's the kicker. The Clinton Foundation, who seems to fool a lot of liberals. I mean, they have pulled the wool over the Democrats' eyes. They actually have a foundation. The Clinton Foundation announced on Tuesday that the discussion would take place as part of a virtual event. First of all, what the hell is up with these virtual events in the White House? I mean, come on, guys, spare us the act. Okay, the gig's up. No one's wearing a mask anymore. Like, everybody's out there meeting people. Biden and Harris are holding these like stupid virtual conferences, acting like we're all keeping our 6 feet distance, when we know they're letting immigrants flood the border with coronavirus in disgusting and sanitary conditions coming through to America. Yet they're all acting like coronavirus is a real thing and we got to keep having these events. So anyway, we all know the whole thing's a joke. We know it's a big front. We watch them show up with their masks. Give me a break. But the Democrats buy into it. They always have. So, Clinton Foundation, okay? Funny enough, the Clinton Foundation is actually holding this women and girls empowering session. They're holding this virtual event with college students from around the world on Friday. Besides Harris, other speakers will include Mayor Muriel Bowser, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, which I don't know who wants to ever hear from Hillary. She's just heinous to watch in every way. I don't even know who likes her. I mean, all I want to do is kind of like, I can't even say it on camera because I'm going to get in trouble. But Hillary Clinton, Chelsea, Georgia Democrat Stacey Abrams, and of course, Bill Clinton. The foundation described the talk as a one-on-one conversation with President Clinton and Vice President Kamala Harris on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on women. First of all, what impact has COVID had on women that it hasn't had on men? Is this like the most ridiculous and retarded thing you've ever heard? That we're going to have a virtual event to discuss the impact that COVID-19 has had on women. It's like, what impact has COVID had on women that it hasn't had on me or other men? But as we know, the Democrats, they constantly like to bring in race, sexism into every possible catastrophe imaginable. I mean, there could be an earthquake and somehow women and black people are 10 times more affected than anybody else. I mean, there could be a tsunami in Thailand and they'll bring women and Asians into the mix, or black people, because that's all they know. How do we turn a crisis into a narrative? It's the Democrats' MO. So the pandemic has obviously affected women a lot more than men. So they go and rally the troops. Hey, let's do a girl power session. Let's come up with the worst person we could possibly think of on the face of the earth to co-host this with. Hey, call Bill Clinton. He's probably available. Yeah. Good idea. I'm sure this will go real well with the American public. It's like their book of bad ideas that they keep going back to. You'd think they'd be out of bad ideas by now. But every day I wake up and I read the news, I'm like, Jesus Christ, you guys came up with more bad ideas? How? Like, I thought you exhausted your 1,000 horrific ideas in your first 60 days. Nope, another bad idea. So the Howard University hosted talk raised questions about past accusations against Clinton, as well as Harris' previously advocacy surrounding Me Too and Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. One of those women, Juanita Broderick, who accused Clinton of rape, balked at the scheduled event, obviously. So she's like, wait, I'm so confused here. Is this an effing joke? She asked in one tweet. This pervert who raped me. Okay, so Bill Clinton, he's a pervert. He's raped Juanita Broderick. And Juanita's like, you're asking him to have a talk to get girls and women all fired up for equality. So in another, she asked if Howard University would like to include her in the talk and included a photo of her book cover reiterating her accusation of rape. So she's like, hey, would you like to include me in this talk? Seeing that he raped me? You guys haven't asked me. How about the book? How about the book that I wrote about Bill Clinton? Do you want to talk about this book? How I survived being raped by Bill Clinton? Well, clearly no response. But Juanita has a right to talk. Monica Lewinsky has a right to talk. Why haven't we asked any of these women to talk? You can have Bill Clinton go. Why not Juanita, Monica Lewinsky, and any of the other women? So Juanita came out with a great tweet. Hey, I wonder if Howard U would like to include me in their Empowering Women event with Bill Clinton to discuss this with a cover of her book. Perfect response to this entire ludicrous. The lunacy is obviously at all-time highs here with the Democrats. So the former president, obviously, Bill Clinton has denied multiple allegations, even though we know what happened in the Oval Office, including Broderick. But that's what they do. I mean, look at Cuomo. It's like every time these guys get busted, every time there's sexual harassment charges against them, they deny it. And nobody seems to really want to look further into it. The impeachment was just a joke for them to go through the motions to make the American people feel like something was actually be done. Which, by the way, not a single Democrat voted to actually convict Bill Clinton of an impeachment. Not a single one. Not a single Democrat. And they all knew. They all knew what happened, and not a single one. This is the kind of people that we're dealing with today. So the former president, he denied multiple allegations, including Broderick's, but famously admitted to engaging in sexual activity with White House intern Monica Lewinsky, only after he got caught, of course. If you remember the whole thing, I did not engage in sexual blah, 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 blah with Monica Lewinsky. And then I was like, okay, I'd engage in sexual activity, but I got a BJ. She gave me a blowjob, and that's all I did. But that's not the sexual activity that I was talking about. And Hillary sitting on the sideline saying, oh, God damn it, Bill, again? But she seemed to forgive him real quick and then thought to start a charity after the whole thing happened. So Bill busted again. I know I should kind of divorce you and all and leave you. But hey, I got a better idea. Let's open a foundation now to empower women. Maybe that'll distract the American people, because lately they are kind of dumb and they seem to be distracted with anything or any amount of bullshit we throw their way. So let's start a foundation. Yeah, good idea. So they do that. To empower women, Kamala Harris and Howard University will promote a man that no sane father would want anywhere near his daughter, Bill Clinton, said former Trump campaign officer Steve Cortes. So Steve Cortes comes online. He's like, you guys are nuts. You're talking about empowering women here. Kamala Harris and Howard University will promote a man that absolutely no sane father on planet Earth would want anywhere near his daughter. Christopher Catalago in a tweet says Kamala Harris will go one-on-one with Bill Clinton on Friday to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on women and empowering women and girls in the U.S. and around the world as part of a Clinton initiative event. So that was Steve Cortez's reply to Chris's tweet. How is this even happening here in America right now? I mean, nobody in a million years would ever think that we, after what happened with Bill Clinton, would be asking him to sit alongside Kamala Harris to discuss girl power and women's. So let's head over to the keyboard warrior cam. I gotta see what the American people have to say about this, because every day on this show, we ask the American people what they think. They weigh in. This is going to be good. I cannot wait for some of these comments. Stuart says, what a joke. What a joke. He is a sexual predator, and she was a bimbo to get where she is today. I mean, listen, guys, I don't like to talk bad about women. I don't think it's right. When it comes to equality, I mean, listen, women are, if anything, they're smarter than us today. Okay, they deserve to be in the positions they are, and a female president's probably good for America. I'll be the first to admit it. We probably need a female president right now. But Kamala, no, she's like the last person on earth that should be leading this country. And yeah, she is a bimbo, and she did stuff that many would argue is what got her to the position she's in today. So she's not exactly a Me Too role model for women nationwide that we should be putting in front of these college students. So the whole combination is like horrible. Kamala Harris, who we know hasn't really been an angel throughout her career, with Bill Clinton, who we know asked his intern to perform sexual activities with right there in the Oval Office. So it's not exactly the all-star lineup that America really should be listening to right now. This administration is an absolute clown show, Stewart goes on to say. And it is. That's what we're getting. I mean, listen, this sums up perfectly what we're dealing with here in America. I mean, this is like if you had to put on the cover of a book the lunacy of America, it would be this story. It would absolutely be this story. It'd be Bill Clinton with Kamala Harris talking about empowering women and girls to college students. You might as well throw Epstein on the cover with Harvey Weinstein and Cuomo. Put Cuomo on there. It's like the A-team of sexual harassment. It's the A-team of stupidity. That would be like the perfect book cover. If you put all these people on the book cover, if you said, hey, how ridiculous is America right now? Like, how far off the rails have your country gone? Show them the book cover. And there you go. That's the deal. I mean, we have got to be the laughingstock of America right now with how outrageous we're all acting. And then we do things like this. So you can't blame the rest of the world for thinking that we are absolutely lunatics for going with these kind of decisions. Jennifer says, this entire Biden-Harris administration is a total disgrace for our country. We should be ashamed of these fraudulently elected CCP puppets that have absolutely no interest in the well-being of America, as they waste no time pushing out their socialist agenda. I cannot wait until they are gone. Well, with Joe's health deteriorating, and stay with us, guys, because we're going to pop in to the press briefing that Joe Biden did today, and I'm going to show you how he fumbled his way through some very easy questions. It's very sad at this point. We're going to take a look, so stick with us here. They will be gone sooner than we think, Joe, but Kamala, I'm not too sure. Ellen says, I couldn't think of two better people to hold that discussion. There you have it. The joke of the century. One who abused and suppressed women for an entire political career, and another who exploited her womenness to advance her career. What a joke. Is their message going to be something to the tune of, do as we say, not as we do? I mean, that's the deal. How can anybody listen to Bill Clinton right now? How do you even take this guy seriously? How would Howard University even be okay with this? They are receiving so much backlash and criticism right now because of how stupid they all look. If I were them, I'd pull the plug immediately if they haven't done it already. I haven't even gone online to see if they've actually conducted the event. I saw the article and I was like, this is ridiculous. I've got to do my show based on this stupidity today. So if they actually held the event, I have no hope for this country. None whatsoever. It's just going to get worse. It's such a joke. And yes, Alan's right. Do as we say, not as we do. Michelle says someone needs to lose their damn job. Do they truly think that us women need a man to empower us? That's their first problem. I don't think women need men to empower anybody anymore. I think women are doing just fine without us. They've proved it time and time again. They're starting businesses and doing much better than half the men in the world right now. I don't think the women need any more validation that they're doing just fine without us. So every time the Democrats come out with this whole, hey, let's hold a women power event, I think it's actually very sexist. And I think it's a slap in the face to all women because they're already doing very well on their own. It's almost like telling them, hey, come here, sweetheart. We're going to put you up on a pedestal again. And we got to keep trying to convince the world that you're equal to men. So let's hold another event. No, they have it all wrong. But this is what they're making the women look like every time they hold one of these stupid things. And they're doing the same thing to the black community. Let's be honest. Every time we have another BLM parade or a Martin Luther King celebration, it's reminding black people, hey, you're almost there. You're getting there. We're so close. How about we are there and we stop celebrating or stop reminding everybody what they used to be? Because that, to me, is causing a lot more damage than what we're doing now. Stop celebrating women. They already are as powerful as men in the real world. Maybe not in every country, but in America, they deserve all the respect in the world. And I think every time we have one of these women power, girl power events, we're actually slapping them in the face. They've proved themselves. The women are doing just fine without us constantly needing to remind them that they're on the same level as us. They don't need our reminder, and they certainly don't need Bill Clinton coming in, who's a disgrace to the whole movement, to validate their success. Randy says, imagine that. So let me get this right. The person who had an affair in Congress and the person who had an affair in the White House and is connected to Epstein's Island is going to hold a discussion on empowering women and girls. That actually is laughable and the most ignorant thing I've ever heard. Ignorance seems to be a big thing with the Democrats, though, so I'm not surprised. Has America lost its damn mind? Those two are not ever teaching any of my children or grandchildren anything ever. See, why are conservatives and Republicans the only ones who flag this nonsense? Why are we the only ones who think this is outrageous? I mean, it's getting really scary now that half our country actually thinks it's okay what's happening here. This is applauding and awarding sexual harassment. Look at Cuomo. 8 women now. 8 women he is harassed. And we are letting them get away with it. We're not only letting them get away with it, but we're also applauding and rewarding them for it now. So the whole thing's lunacy. It's insanity. Bill Clinton is a joke. Kamala Harris is not much better. Yet the two of them are leading the charge on empowering women and girls. Outrageous. Guys, stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to take a look at President Biden's first press briefing ever since he took office today, and is very sad, fumbling through questions. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to You Made It Political, where the voice of the keyboard warrior is finally heard, and the arguments presented are put to the political test. And now, here's your host, Matt Clark.
So we all know that Joe Biden hasn't had a press briefing in 63 days. He's the longest president in modern day history to ever go this long without getting or giving a press briefing. And we all know why. I mean, we're not stupid. We know that Joe is on the cognitive decline. We know that he's not all with it, and we know things are getting worse. So the last thing the Democrats want to do is put Joe Biden in front of the press. But come on, dude. He's the president of the United States. At some point, you got to put this guy in front of the people. At some point, you're going to have to tell him to answer questions. This is not a communist country. It's not a dictatorship. As a president, you actually have to answer to the people. And none of this softball crap that CNN keeps chucking up for him to hit home runs on, which are hardly questions, as we all know. So today, after 63 days, Biden finally holds a press briefing. And guess what? He's forced to talk a lot more than just coronavirus. He can't just sit there and be like, put your mask on, get your vaccine, shots in arms, whatever. So today he's forced to answer a ton of questions. We're going to take a look right now over on Facebook, a video of Biden stumbling through his words while discussing the eliminator of the filibuster. Let's take a look. So Biden today obviously takes questions from the media for the first time ever in this kind of setting. I know a few weeks ago, Jen Psaki was like, what are you guys talking about? He takes questions all the time. No, Jen, put Biden in front of a group of reporters and make him answer serious questions. Like, not scripted, not teleprompter stuff. Just, we want to hear from Biden without an agenda or pre-scripted narrative. Okay? Like, we're going to ask him stuff he does not know. So they held off. The country's like, guys, you better put him out there soon, or we're going to start pushing for the inevitable here. Okay? If you don't want us to really start pushing to remove Joe now, not that that would make things any better, because then we'd be stuck with Kamala Harris for the next 3.5 years. But you get my point. We got to have Joe answering questions. We already look stupid to the rest of the world, and they're all wondering, where's Joe? Is he ever going to come out of the basement? So Joe finally comes out of the basement, which is great. He gets in front of the camera. He answers a bunch of gun control questions, which were horrendous. He answers other questions on the H.R. 1 bill that has to do with future elections. And then somebody asks him a question regarding the filibuster. So he stumbles through his words while discussing the elimination of the filibuster. Let's take a look at what Joe has to say.
I'm going to say something outrageous. I have never been particularly poor at calculating how to get things done in the United States Senate. So the best way to get something done, if you hold near and dear to you,
yeah,
that
Joe,
you
what the hell
like to
are
be
you
able
talking about? Lockdowns with the filibuster? Did anybody catch that?
I
mean,
we're
Joe,
going to get a lot done.
what are
And
you
if we
saying
have
here?
to, if there's
That
complete
was really sad.
lockdown and
I mean,
chaos
totally
as
lost
a
his train of
consequence of the
thought
filibuster,
again.
then
And this
we'll
is
have
why
to
the
go
media
beyond what I'm talking
doesn't
about.
want Joe to be able to talk to the press. Let's have another listen. Yeah, Joe. Now we know why they don't want you out there. So we know that Joe's gone back to the basement. You better believe they're going to put a lid on that guy for the next 3 months. We probably won't ever see Joe again after today. I mean, that was a really sorry and sad performance. You know, I don't even know whether to laugh or feel bad for the guy at this point. Like, I almost feel bad laughing now. It used to be really funny. Like the bloopers, him kind of losing his mind a little bit. But it's just sad now. Let's over to the Keyboard Warrior Cam and see what the American people have to say about Joe Biden's first press briefing in 63 days. The longest president to ever go in modern day history this long without addressing the press. Melania says, he's so incompetent, such an embarrassment for our country. I almost feel sorry for him. He should have never been allowed to run to his declining health and mind. And I agree. He shouldn't have been allowed to run. How can you be his wife right now, watching this go down? I mean, this is elder abuse at the end of the day. And I've read tons of comments to that tune in the past. It's 100% elder abuse that we're putting this man through. Listen, Democrats, you screwed up. You put the wrong guy forward. Call it a day. Let's put him out of his misery. Let's move on, because clearly this isn't working for America. Not to mention all the damage they've done in those 63 days. Can you believe it's only been 63 days? Like, that's the scary part. Look at how much damage this administration has done in just 63 days. I mean, every day I get to talk about something new. I never run out of insanity when it comes to the Democrats. Like, I'm always able to talk about some new order of lunacy that they brought to the table. It's gun control now. They're coming for our guns. They destroyed jobs, the Keystone Pipeline. Immigrants are flooding the border, illegal immigrants, bringing their COVID with them. And every day it's another thing that they're out to do to kind of take down America. It's a very far left radical administration. Yet they still are in control, calling the shots, because they have a man in charge who is literally incompetent. Valerie says, did he just say to the reporter, is there even going to be a Republican Party? After being asked if he thinks he'll be running against President Trump in 24, WTF? That pisses me off. What is their true agenda? So clearly Valerie's talking about another scene in the press conference. So she claims that Biden answered a question, and this is crazy, because I didn't know this, and I'll have to go back and take a look. Biden asked or answered with, is there even going to be a Republican Party? That's not funny, because we already know the attacks on the Republican Party that they continue to deliver on a daily basis. And they're getting worse and worse. At the rate we're going, we won't have a Republican Party if we let Joe and the gang get their way. They'll end up writing some sort of executive order or pass some sort of bill that says no more Republican Party. Look, it'll be as simple as that. Done. I don't want the Republican Party around anymore. Where's that executive order? Let me sign it, and poof, just like that, we're gone. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happened, because we are that far along in the lunacy. Paul says, this is so painful. Such a charade and disrespect to all of us, because he actually thinks we agree with this pre-rehearsed joke of a press conference. And no, we have one more question. From Janet at Univision. Don't really quite get what that guy was talking about. Jim says he's absolutely clueless, no idea what's going on or where he is. He gets so pissed and starts to go off on people. Then his earpiece says no. Simmer down now. There's a ton of press conferences. Let's take a look at another one. We'll tune in. Right here we have Biden talking about voting right issues.
Deciding that you're going to end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work, deciding that there will be no absentee ballots under the most rigid circumstances. It's all designed, and I'm going to spend my time doing three things. One, trying to figure out how to pass the legislation passed by the House
Joe.
Number
just
one.
talk,
Number
dude.
two,
Is that like the
educating
angry
the
Alzheimer's
American
stuff
public.
kicking in?
The Republican voters I know find this despicable. Republican voters.
Listen, the only thing that we're trying to do, okay, and I know what he's
And
talking
so
about. The
I'm
only thing that we're
convinced
trying to do is make
we'll be able to stop
elections
this because it
legal
is the most
again.
pernicious
That's
thing.
all we're trying
This
to do
makes
here.
Jim Crow
We want
look
elections
like
to
Jim
be legal.
Eagle.
We want elections
This
to be
is
fair.
gigantic,
We don't want this
what they're trying to do.
accident-prone, fraud-prone,
And it cannot be sustained.
mail-in ballot BS that allows everybody and their dead grandma to send in 5 ballots a day leading up to election. Okay? That's all we're trying to prevent here. We're not trying to prevent the black community and the Hispanic community from voting because that's what they said. That's what they said. They said we are trying to prevent minorities from voting. Listen, minorities, you've always had the opportunity to vote. It's very simple. Get in your car, drive down to your voting poll station and vote. Or walk. I don't know, take a bus. But nobody's ever prevented minorities from voting. So I keep hearing from the black community, well, you just don't want minorities to vote anymore. That's why you want to slam the door shut on us. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You've always been able to vote. Just because you weren't paying attention is not my fault. Just because finally Kamala Harris bailed you out of jail for burning shit down last summer, and you for the first time in your life thought, hey, that was cool of her, maybe I'll go vote for this chick, isn't my fault. So I don't know what they're getting at, but they are talking about election integrity here, or election fraud, as I would call it. And we want fair and legal votes. We don't want you to be able to go in without an ID. I think that's a very fair and reasonable request. We want people to show identification. We want to make sure that every vote is counted just once. And here he's talking about, well, after 5 o'clock when you get off work, you should be able to go vote. Yeah, Joe, I agree. So keep the polls open a little bit later. Don't extend them 3 months. And unless you're out of state, you should be able to make it to the poll. Like, we don't need everybody and their uncle sending in paper ballots. Let's take a look at what Biden has to say on China today.
They're each specifically legitimate questions, but they only touch a smidgen of what the relationship with China really is about. I've known Xi Jinping for a long time. Allegedly, by the time I left office as vice president, I had spent more time with Xi Jinping than any world leader had, because President Obama and the Chinese President Hu decided we should get to know one another, since it was inappropriate for the President of the United States to spend time with the Vice President of
Do you guys
another
have
country.
any idea what he's talking about? I have no
But
clue
it
what
was
he's talking
obvious
about.
he was going to become
The fact of the
new
matter is
leader
that
of China.
Joe finally had a press conference after 63 days. He's not doing well. He can't answer questions. He just kind of rambles on. He looks tired. He looks tired. I don't think we're going to see Joe for a long time, if ever again. Joe's gone back to the basement. America is going to continue to suffer. And we're all going to have to just sit here and take it. And hope that come 2022, there still is an America left. And that's all that we can possibly look forward to. The primaries are going to be here before we know it. And we need to do our damn best to get some real good, quality, fire starter, young freshman Congress members in the Republican Party. So slowly we can take back the House one seat at a time, take back the Senate, and then hopefully with President Trump coming back on the scene in 2024, we might just be able to get him back in to fix this horrific mess and disaster that the Democrats continue to put upon us. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here at You Made It Political. We live stream every day to Facebook and YouTube at 3 p.m. It's such a pleasure hanging out with you guys for an hour. I love it. I hope you have just as much as fun as me. You can catch all of our shows on our website, youmadeitpolitical.com, as well as Amazon, Spotify, TuneIn, and iTunes. Have a great night.
Thanks for listening to You Made It Political with Matt Clark. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show, or leave us a review on iTunes. And if you like our show or want to know more, check out youmadeitpolitical.com.